But don't worry, because like right now we're on the air and I can always edit it in GarageBand. So the video will be on the air. There we go. Okay, we're
Oh,
live. Okay, so I don't really know. So my problem is I don't even really know what to call my podcast anymore. Usually I have a partner. We do the Steam Team podcast. So I'm just going to wing it. And so here we go. John, edit here. Hello and welcome to Techlandia / the Steam Team. What's going on? You might think, what is going on? You don't do this podcast anymore. No, I do. I've just been really busy. We go to school until June 19th. It's terrible. Let me tell you, it's terrible. Anyway, we're starting early in the morning for me, and I have a special guest that we wanted to talk to. And when I say we, I guess I'm talking about just me now. But I've really wanted to talk to them ever since I met them at ISTE last year. It was just last year. Gosh, it seems like so much longer ago.
I know. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. But anyway, and we thought it was funny because I was just walking through and they have something that I was really interested in, and then they happen to be students in my old school district where I taught. So I thought that was awesome. So I'm going to introduce right now. This is Siddharth Srinivasan, and he is here from Austin, Texas. And Siddharth, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you go and what you are doing right now at Westlake High School?
Yeah, sure. My name is Sid Srinivasan, as John just said, and I am a co-founder of Trashbots right here. It's a low-cost robotics company. We make robotics kits for schools all around the globe, even in the most underprovided area. But me personally, I just graduated being a sophomore at Westlake High School, like John said. Same district that he used to work at. It's a pretty interesting connection, small world, and look forward to growing this company out more as I go on.
As you go on and are a high school student, it's so impressive, let me tell you. And then his brother Rohit couldn't be here today. He's under the weather, and Rohit just graduated, right?
Yeah, he's running 103 right now, lying in bed. So not the type of mood you want to be on a podcast. But,
no, that's terrible, and it's a terrible way to start your summer.
Yeah, but I think it's all the graduation. There's some grad party. It's just like the end of the school year just got him really barely any sleep he got in there. So it's kind of this is a catching up on sleep virus type of thing. So he really wishes he could be here, but obviously he can't.
That's okay. We're happy to have you here, and I mean, we were just going over. Before we went on the air, we were just talking about Orange Theory and some of the things there. We were talking about all the businesses in Austin that have gone under, but we are also saying that you are in the class of the last people that I actually. What we like to say is I'm a TOSA, okay, Siddharth. I'm a TOSA, which stands for Teacher Out at Starbucks All the Time, because I don't have a class, right? But your year is the last class that I actually worked hard and really taught. So say hi to all the kids at Cedar Creek that you know for me.
I definitely will.
Okay, thanks. All right, so tell us a little bit about your story right now. We're going to talk about how I'll call you a sophomore. You're a junior though. How a sophomore in high school and his brother start a company, and I just think what you're doing is really fascinating. And how do you get started? I would love to get started that as an old man, but here you are doing it as a youngster. So tell us a little bit about how you started.
Yeah, so the vision for this kind of developed over the years, and it started actually in I think 2013. So it was when my brother was in 8th grade and I was in 6th grade, right? So it's obviously we weren't creating the company then. It was kind of just the vision has been developing since then. And what happened is both of us started going to Indian orphanages just because our parents thought it was a good cause and wanted us to see the lives of other people around the world so we could get a better view. I mean, it wasn't anything like we wanted to see how robotics or anything like that yet. It was just more personal reflection through going to these orphanages. So we started going in 2013, and we actually every single winter from 2013 over the next 4 years, we went there and started doing robotics. Actually, we started taking robotics kits with us and trying to teach these kids robotics. And we took different robotics kits, and what we saw is the kids there. The learning was very rote. It was all based on here's a lecture, and now here you're going to take a test, and you memorized it. Take a test. Okay, you're good. Let's go on to the next unit, right? And everything there was very rote, and they didn't have any avenues to express their creativity and problem solving. And that's really important for students to have when they get older and they go to try to find a job, right? So when we looked around at what solutions there were to express their creativity and problem solving, we saw that STEM kits were often accepted as a way to do this, robotics kits, right? But when we surveyed the broader landscape of those robotics kits, we saw they were all very expensive. They sometimes required a lot of infrastructure, meaning a whole room full of computers or continuous Wi-Fi, continuous power. A lot of the stuff that underprovided orphanages in rural India couldn't get, because even though we might take it for granted here in the United States, they might see it as a huge fortune, right? And also the teachers weren't skilled enough to be able to go and teach them. They didn't have enough curriculum, and they just didn't have enough pure knowledge too. So with all of this stuff, we saw there needs to be a better solution. And all of these issues were also prevalent in United States schools, sometimes even first world communities, right? So we wanted to go out and create our own product that we could use to teach science and engineering while still expressing that creativity and being at a very low cost with very little infrastructure. So we created Trashbots. We're creating robots out of trash. That's the whole idea. So we actually came back and we created this team of engineers and educators in order to go and tackle this problem. So my brother and I came back, and we were connected with a man named Paul Austin. He was a chief architect at National Instruments, and he obviously very brilliant technologist. And he also had that developing vision where he was going to Congo, Mexico, India also. So he's also been seeing these exact same issues. So we were connected up by a mutual friend. And here we are. We created Trashbots, us three being co-founders. Right. And from there, obviously, we found a lot of advisors and people who could help us where obviously we didn't know exactly where to go.
Oh yeah, there will always be advisors around, right? There'll be advisors and be like, "Hey, yeah, can I get a free meal and give you some advice?" And then you're like, "Oh, that was bad advice. Why do we give him a meal?" Yeah. How did you meet? How did you meet Paul? Like, how does the introduction? Like, that's kind of where I sit sometimes. Sometimes I have great ideas for websites, but I don't know a really good coder. How did you find Paul?
It's really funny, actually. So what happened is we were going to India to this nonprofit called the Miracle Foundation, right? They manage orphanages in southern India, and another nonprofit called Science in a Suitcase that partners with the Miracle Foundation. Science in a Suitcase is this nonprofit that they take curriculum and they have ideas for different STEM projects that they can do, and they go down to different rural areas and teach. So they were partnering with the Miracle Foundation for some time to go to their orphanages and teach, right? So what we did is we talked to Science in a Suitcase a lot and kind of did a follow-up to their trip. So they did a trip in October of 2015. And we went up and did another trip in December of 2015, kind of a follow-up using the same platform they did. So it's kind of reminding kids of the robotics platform and all that. And so Paul was on that first October trip, and we were on the December trip. Right? So we both actually visited the same orphanage in India, but obviously didn't know each other. And so after we came back from that trip in December, we sat down with the person who runs Science in a Suitcase, and we're chatting about, so we saw these issues, and there must be a better solution. I mean, a low-cost solution that this. He says, I know somebody who went on that first trip, who saw the same vision, who actually was lamenting to me about the exact same thing. So she connected with us. It was actually funny. It was my brother, my dad, and I. We all went over to Paul's house. We had no idea who this guy was. He says, you guys can come over to my house. We come in. It's us three. Then there's Paul and his wife. And then there's the head of Science in a Suitcase and her infant. So it was a very weird setting. And we all came into the room, and that was the genesis of Trashbots.
That's so cool. I feel like that sometimes is one of the things where I feel like that gets kind of lost a little bit. Like when you go to a big conference like ISTE, and it is just a giant boat show, basically, right? Like that's what it has, that boat show feel. Like you're going to buy something, you're going to buy a cruiser or something like that. But one of the things that I learned is when I used to go there, when I first started going there, and Eanes, and they were nice enough at Barton Creek. And I'll give a shout out to the Barton Creek parent teacher organization. They would, if you wrote up a little grant, you could get $1,500 to go to a conference, which I had never even thought of before. So one time I drove myself over to Washington, D.C., and I went to, the ISTE conference for the first time. And I sat there and I was quiet the whole time. I went to every session, and I didn't talk to anybody. And that was a big mistake. And I started to kind of towards the end. And then you realize that once you talk to people, you can really find people that have those same interests. And that's how things happen, right? You say something, and a lot of people that I work with think it's like, oh, I go to a conference and I'm a schmoozer. And I'm like, no, it's not about schmoozing. It's not even about that. I like to see what people are doing. And if you have interests and you have a genuine, like, common interest, like you both saw the same problem, you're like, we need to do something about this. Now let's team up and let's do something about it. So that's a cool way to start it out, because it took me a while to figure that out at conferences, that you do like the sometimes it isn't the lecture type session. It's just the meeting with people doing the same thing you're doing and being like, yeah, I have that same problem. Let's see if we can solve it. Right. I mean, that's the way things work, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's great. I was wondering about that when you saw it. Okay. So you meet, so now you're in there, you've got somebody on your side now. So what did you decide moving forward? Like, what were the steps that brought you to where Trashbots is today and the Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, so we thought of all the issues that we saw, and we thought we knew we needed a differentiated approach into building our kit, right? And that's kind of what we pulled together. So here's the kit right here, upside down. Here's the kit right here, and basically, what approach we take is obviously one of the issues we saw is that they didn't encourage much creativity or problem solving. So what we do is we allow our users to use whatever they can find in their local environment and add that to the robot. So whether that be some popsicle sticks or water bottles, they can take anything they find and just put that on the robot. And basically what that does is the limit of what you can build is only limited by the user's imagination and nothing else, right? It's not like you buy a kit and you can only use what you find in the kit, and after a while you get bored because you have a set amount of things you can use and there's only so many things you can do, right? With Trashbots, you can literally put anything you want onto that, right? Additionally, we require very low infrastructure. So you only need a few hours of charging every day just to charge this kit. No Wi-Fi needed. And you don't need a whole room full of computers like we've seen in other kits. You only need some sort of device that has Bluetooth, which we've seen has become increasingly prevalent in even rural communities, such as like when we were in that rural area in India, we actually realized we forgot our tablet. So we went out to a side store and we bought a tablet for $20 that worked perfectly with the Trashbots kit.
Oh, wow.
So it's that easy to get Android tablets now in these rural communities. And so that's why we decided to leverage that into our kit.
That's pretty awesome. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like for a microbit, you can use your telephone, right, to program microbit. So
exactly.
I feel like that's good. And it's got to be all Bluetooth enabled, or you would just simply need one Chromebook, right? Or something like that. I mean, I was thinking about, you were talking about just the how tough it was in the orphanages, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's still tough in America in schools with all those things. Like, there's a lot of schools in America that don't have things like that in place.
And a lot of, when we actually went to these conferences, ISTE, TCA, all those things, when we're talking to teachers, they say, yeah, well, we're really low-cost, underprovided school in this rural area of the state. We're trying to get more STEM into our school. The first thing we've done is got a 3D printer, but now I have no idea where to go because everything else, next step, is super expensive. Help me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've seen, and we're trying to answer to that.
I know. I feel like that's a problem. There's so much information out there that, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with 3D printing, but it's not exactly the place where I would start. Although some people would probably argue with me, but I bought a 3D printer, I think not that long ago, and the company just went under. Like, I think they had successfully funded a Kickstarter, and then all of a sudden they refunded my money and came back, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then it was New Matter, and then New Matter just was like, we're done. We're done.
Right. Bought a New Matter 3D printer. He was telling me actually this yesterday. I was at his house yesterday. Like, no, New Matter went down under.
Yeah, that was mine too.
But
yeah. It's interesting. Well, you know what it allowed me to do is I just gave it to a teacher, and I was like, "Here, you know what? You figure it out with your teacher, with your students. You know, so I gave it to a fifth grade teacher. I said, just
Oh,
use
nice.
it for a while, see how it is. So I was letting her figure it out. But yeah, so let's get to the Indiegogo a little bit because it is as currently, unless someone has funded it that is watching right now, it is 72% funded and has 24 days left according to my calculations.
That's true.
And Siddharth, you can attest. Who was one of your first backers?
His name was John Samuelson, if you guys know him.
So I was there. I was like, I remember those guys. Guys are awesome. Are you going to ISTE this year, by the way?
Yeah, we plan to go down at least for a day.
Okay, that's good.
Chicago, right? So
yes, I will be there as well. So maybe we'll have to meet up or something. But yeah, so definitely. the Indiegogo, we will definitely tweet out a couple times from my Twitter feed. I did tweet it with the link to this as well, and it's right there. And so we'll do a little. I don't know. We'll do a little Adobe Spark page or something where we can put the podcast and we'll put a link to it for you. And I will tweet it out a couple times, but it is getting close. And there are a lot of good options on there to back. So if you were suggesting, let's say we have one of those, Siddharth, let's say we have one of those rural teachers that's trying to get some STEM incorporated. They see the Indiegogo. What would be ideal for them to get started as a teacher to what would be the good package to purchase?
Yeah, so what we recommend is obviously look at how many students are going to be using them at one sitting. What we recommend is 2 to 4 students using one kit at a single time because we encourage a lot of teamwork with our kits. So if a teacher was willing to buy something like this, then they would obviously figure out if they need 5, 10 kits, if we have packets for those available, and buy the corresponding kit. And what we have this new thing with this program that we thought of is a lot of teachers we've seen right now are low budget because it's end of school year and it's kind of they've exhausted their budget for now. They're getting new funding in the fall when school comes back into play. So what we're offering to teachers is that if you are interested even slightly in the Trashbots kit, what we can do is we can put an allocation in this first manufacturing round because see this Indiegogo campaign, it's to fund our first manufacturing round. We're going to take this money that we raise and go and buy our first round of kits, and that'll come in the fall, right? And if teachers don't put their order in, we can't guarantee kits in the fall right away. So what we've been telling teachers is that if they're interested in buying kits but don't have funding now, what we can do is we can reserve kits in the manufacturing round. So if they come back to school in the fall and they say, maybe I do want kits, we can guarantee that they get some kits. But if they decide they don't want kits in the fall, that's completely fine. This is completely non-binding. And it's just that if they do decide later they want kits, we can safely say that they have kits guaranteed.
Okay, that's a good plan. And then, so let's talk a little bit about. I mean, we haven't really even gotten into the nuts and bolts of it. So let's talk a little bit about like what would a teacher have to know? Like what's the platform that they would use to control the Trashbot, and what would you say are the basics that you need to know about the microbit that kind of set it apart as a microcomputer?
Why don't I go ahead and give you all a demo? Does that sound good? Yeah,
sure. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of built some stuff over here, but basically one thing I didn't really talk about much about this kit is our kit can be used with actually any grade level in school. So kindergarten all the way through 12th grade students can use this. We've had teachers shout out to Cedar Creek, John.
There we go. Woof, woof.
We've had a teacher to Tana Fisk at Cedar Creek.
Tiana is still there. You definitely tell Miss Fisk I said hello. Miss Fisk is a good friend of mine.
But she's used these kits with her elementary school students all the way up to the computer science teacher at Westlake High School just bought 15 kits to teach his advanced computer science class.
Nice.
And so anybody can use these kits. And I'll talk about a little bit how that happens. So on the very low level, in kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth grade, maybe lower elementary school days, kids can pick up our kit and just use like trash and our pieces. So this is our piece right here. This is some trash, popsicle sticks, water bottles, and they can add it on without any electronics yet. Mm-hmm. And basically that allows them to have some engineering knowledge at first, but without getting too complicated yet. Mm-hmm. And then, let me grab tablet out here. And then what kids can do next is as they get older, they can open our app right here.
Okay.
It might be hard to see, but it's a very easy graphical programming language, and they pick up a kit just like this and connect it using Bluetooth and start learning about the fundamentals of programming knowledge. Because you can see there's lessons here such as
Nice.
there's a loop there, there's an if statement, all that stuff. So it kind of implants the how programming works mentality into their brains without actually getting into the complex textual programming languages yet. So it's very graphical and not language based and all.
Do you think, and this is, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that when we're going through, this is always a question that I have, because we're trying to do kind of in Beaverton School District in Oregon, we're trying to do kind of a district-wide coding, excuse me, platform. And when I've been teaching a lot right now in the kindergarten, first and second grades, because they aren't testing, go figure. Yeah. And so their teachers are a lot less grumpy. But one of the things that I really try and bring home, and I feel like it's not so much the coding, you know, because the block coding is going to be similar no matter what platform, whether it's the Trashbots platform or whether it's the Make Code platform. But it's really trying to teach kindergarten, first and second graders kind of like, this is how you start a computer. You're giving it sets of directions, kind of like the computational thinking. Would you say that that's important? Okay.
That's very important. Actually, in India, when we went, sometimes before even starting anything with the Trashbots kit, we just do programmatic thinking exercises. We'd say, here's a maze. There's a tiger in the maze. You have to roar when you get at the tiger. And there's a small chest in the maze. You have to jump up and down if you want to receive the gift, right? And they have to write out instructions like, go forward one step, turn one rotation, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like other games is popular local foods. Write out exact instructions to make these local foods, and have one of us act it out, right? And when they start reading it out, if they're not specific enough, right, just make a joke out of it and be like, oh, like this says crack the egg, and you crack the egg on top of your head. Like, no, in the bowl, not on your head, right? So right. It has to be very specific. Right. So it's like, programmatic thinking is very, very, very important. And that's something we emphasize a lot in our graphical programming language, is teaching kids how exactly that works, so that when they get older, it's a good transition, they can start using the textual programming language to actually code the Trashbots kit. So we have support for JavaScript and Python, and kids can start using the knowledge they've developed from the graphical programming language to start learning JavaScript and Python, which a lot of technologists these days in the real world actually have to use that in their job. So it kind of sets them up for the future. So I'll give you a small demo of just some example projects I've made. We have sensors in our kit, and you can utilize that. For example, this is something I made. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's a pedometer. So every single time I take a step, it takes a beep, and it counts exactly how many steps I made.
That's
right?
Cool.
Or you can play the game Simon. You guys have heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Where it goes, so just using the buttons and trying to memorize this pattern. A, B, B. Right? So
that's
something as
very
simple
cool.
as that.
That's very cool.
I just lost.
That's very cool.
It just kind of shows. And then and we also have a very structured curriculum you can use and pull into the classroom without it being like a new obtrusive thing, right? So for example, in math class, or I guess science class, wherever you're learning this, and when you start learning about simple machines, right? You teach kids, okay, so here's a pulley, and I'm gonna click this button, and it's go 4 rotations forward and then 4 rotations back. And you start teaching them about how force applies in this situation and how it can make stuff easier, and teach them about different simple machines, pulleys, an inclined plane, screw. I'm trying to remember all the simple machines. Right. But
it's funny. My wife's doing simple machines right now in kindergarten. She could totally, she's totally doing that.
And it's like a complementary thing. It's not a new thing you put in and use it in order to teach whatever peaks. At least in Texas, that's what it is.
Right.
You're trying to teach.
Right.
So
it's interesting. And so you have the lessons you have some lessons that are there built in, which is always good for a teacher. And then this is what we try and get teachers are. We're trying to get them to understand in Beaverton. It doesn't have to be an extra added on, like, here, we're taking 50 minutes and we're going to do Trashbots right now.
Yeah,
you're doing your
more
normal science stuff. And here
exactly.
we're going to do something cool. And we're going to supplement what you're learning about simple machines with the Trashbots.
That's exactly what it is.
So that's awesome. Well, that's good. And does your app go, I'm embarrassed that I didn't know. Is it go iOS and Google Play or Android? Or does
we start delivering it, Will. So that one's an iPad right there. Bluetooth on the iPad is always it's a bit weird. It's a new space, definitely. So, I mean, obviously you can see that I can put it on an iPad. It's not up anymore. Mm-hmm. I can put it on an iPad, but we've been using Android for all of our things. But when we talk to teachers, they say, yeah, we have Chromebooks, iPads, all these different things, and it's available on all of those.
Okay, so, that's good to know. That's great. And so, yeah. And is there anything else? So, is this like? I know that you had them at ISTE when you were doing. What were you doing? What was the session that you did? You kind of did the Sunday pre-session at ISTE. Do you remember what that was called?
It was the playground. I know that's what
it was like. Was it like the new tech playground or something like that on a Sunday?
It had some name like that.
Okay.
I forgot what exactly it was.
Okay.
It was like some new tech playground or something like that. And
it was interesting.
Met a lot of interesting teachers. Yeah.
Yes, that's good. Well, and you'll be at ISTE. You just don't know in Chicago. You just don't know in what. Are you doing a poster session?
No. I think we're just going to come down a day and talk to teachers.
That would be good. Yeah, just because you can. And then you know what's always a good place? I mean, I always just say go down to just like the Bloggers Cafe or whatever, right? Where if they still have those, right? And just sit. I bet you could sit there and you would be so tired by the end of the day that you would just need to go get some good regional Chicago food afterwards, like some stuff that's there. That'll be great. And and you know what? When we go, and if you do go to the Bloggers Cafe on one of the days, let me know, and we'll tweet out some stuff to the ISTE hashtag so that you can go and talk to Siddharth and Rohit in person and see, because it really is impressive in person. There's only so much justice we can do on a podcast. But is there anything else you would like to finish up with for this one? I do have to. This is the problem with doing it in the morning. I do have to go to work. I'm probably going to be late for my meeting, but it was totally worth it to be late for my meeting. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I'm not much more. It's just that we have seen great validation for what we've been doing too. We've gone to conferences like TCA, ISTE, iPad Palooza turned Learning Fest, whatever you call it.
Sorry.
And we've applied to awards, and we were actually nominated as one of the top 10 global edtech startups. So one of the top 10 edtech startups in North America last year by Global EdTech Startup Awards. So that was extremely exciting.
Nice.
Top 15 innovators changing Texas by Texas Monthly.
Nice.
So, and numerous articles in Statesman, Austin Business Journal, stuff like that. So we have seen a lot of interested folk. Especially when we went down to Peru and India doing our pilots. In Peru, for example, the Education Ministry of Peru was so excited and so intrigued with our kit. They invited us to come down and teach some kits under their watch, and they really liked it. And we're discussing maybe some sort of pilot later this year with the government of Peru. So
that's awesome.
Governments also and teachers, we sent out a non-binding pre-order form, which I know you put your name in.
Yes, I did.
We saw, I think, 60 up to 70, I think, school districts put their name on that, saying that they wanted to be a part of that. So very exciting. We've seen a lot of demand, and it's now the question of trying to get the supply and trying to get our Indiegogo up.
That's great, and and I'm sure that your Indiegogo will fund because it's so close already. You're already 3/4 of the way there. Yeah. You've still got almost a month still.
Exactly.
That'll be great. And the thing I like about what you're doing is, number one, congratulations, because I have so much. I mean, I know some of the people that were in your grade level since I taught them, and some of them are complete doofuses. So anyway, but those kids, the kids in my 4th grade will understand because I call them doofuses all the time. They called me a doofus too. But no, I mean, but seriously, I mean, to be doing this at such a young age, and I feel like it just it came from a nice place where you're kind of doing like that service learning type idea. What can we do to help the question is, what can we do to help the world or help change things? We see a problem, exactly. We want to fix it. These are the things that young people and old people need to start doing. And I really like what you're doing. I love the BBC Microbit. And so if you're a teacher, I will say this, and I don't know if you know this, did you know that I feel like they just passed a law in Colorado where I feel like they're going to give microbits to all the fourth graders in Colorado. So if you're a teacher in Colorado and you want to understand and get ahead of the microbit, you should order one of these kits and see what all the possibilities are to do some things and just take normal everyday stuff, have that kind of maker movement mentality, and go for it a little bit. And the creativity is important. But yeah, my hat's off to you guys. We need to get you we need to get you larger now. I mean, I know you're in the other ones. We need to get you larger in America. Like, I feel like you need to come to Beaverton and come to Portland at some time, and then we'll work on what we can do here, because we're really thinking about using the microbit as well. I feel like it's a good affordable tool, and and I feel like you guys really to have thought about that so many years earlier.
We definitely have.
Right?
It's a very affordable tool too. It's 15 or under for obviously at scale, and its capabilities are endless. And we're actually extending it using our own chip too. So it's a very useful tool.
It is. It's awesome. We're really excited. We actually just did a training yesterday in our school district and the day before and I'm just excited because people that I trust are like, I'm like, so do you like that? And they're like, that's really got some possibilities. You guys could see that at such a young age. I feel like that's great. So keep doing what you're doing. And if you ever need any help or anything, don't hesitate to ask, and we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can get one of the first pilots in Beaverton, Oregon. We would love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here. Tell your brother to get better.
Yeah, I will.
Tell him he's only got a couple more days, and then he has to get over all the hubbub that goes on. Do they have the Westlake? Do they have is it at the Irwin Center? Is that where they have their graduation?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
They have the Irwin Center, which it's short-lived right now. Because Irwin Center, did you hear?
No.
They're about to destroy it.
No, they're destroying everything. They destroyed Jamba Juice, Noodles and Company, now the Irwin Center.
Yeah, so they're going to tear down the Irwin Center. So one of the last graduations there. And then so right after graduation, they bus all the students back to Westlake. And you spend the night until 4 a.m. there. Right.
Wow.
So
right.
It's part of graduation, right? So it's supposed to be like a safe environment to see all your friends the last time and all that. It's like a lot of big fun thing, but nobody gets any sleep that night. So
it sounds cool. I see a lot of the pictures on my Facebook, and it's nice. You guys, I always loved the kids that were there. The kids that were there were so awesome. The students and the parents. I still know some of the parents there. I'm friends with them on Facebook. It's not like after I moved away, they like unfriended me. It was good. They're super nice people. I loved my time there. Well, anyway, you have a good summer. And maybe definitely let's at least say hello at ISTE. Can we do that at least?
Yeah, I think so.
DM me on the Twitters.
I don't know if I'll be there per se.
Okay.
I probably not, because I think I'll be out of town for something else.
Okay.
But definitely my brother is, I think, planning to come down for a day. And Paul too.
Tell him the secret way to get a hold of me is just DM me on Twitter. That's the easy way.
Perfect.
That's my email. All right. Thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's great to have you in there. And remember, Siddharth, you saw him here first, because Trashbots is going bigger, and they'd love you to be in on the ground floor with their Indiegogo campaign.
Exactly.
All right. Have a good one. We'll see you.
So much.
Bye.